What's going on, Bras Bros? Welcome back to another Bra Mithra video. Today we're doing the 2023 Lantern Year in Review video where Bra and I are going to be talking about everything Kingdom Death that happened over the entire year.
Yes, thank you. Hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
no problem.
I'm once again joined by Aluminum Man. Hello, Aluminum. How are you doing?
I am doing excellently. How are you doing?
It's been a good year for Kingdom Death. I will say this has been the best year for Kingdom Death because we have gotten the Gambler's Chest. With that in mind, we've decided to go back and look at all of the updates and shop releases. And newsletters? I think we're going to look at a couple stuff from some newsletters too. But basically, all the official.
Yeah, I would say we're just going to look at the shop updates, email newsletters, kind of the same thing. The first update for 2023 was in January. This is update number 102, which occurred on January 31st of 2023. This was the New Year's release, or New Year's update, I guess, for the game after they had taken a break from Christmas 2022. So yeah, overall, there's not much to talk about in this update. It was kind of like at the time it would have been big, but in retrospect, with the Gambler's Chest being released, it's not too important. They show off some of the digital proofs for the cards, and then they also show off a semi-final print of the Ultimate Showdown board, or the Plastic Showdown board at the time. Um, the Ultimate Showdown board ended up being retooled, so those pictures aren't even super valuable to us as far as discussion goes. Um, yeah, the the actual board itself looks great. Um, Back then and now, I think now it's a little bit more refined. So once we get in hands, we can talk about it a little bit more. Um, One of the things that I found really interesting about this update is that the first line he mentions that with the new showdown board that they'll be able to create, so 3D print some special promo board tiles and bring them with them to Gen Con. Obviously that didn't happen this year because the board wasn't ready. But going forward, we probably will start to see some things like that, like unique board tiles released with content or released as promos, stuff like that. You know,
Maybe. I'm a hard maybe on that one. I think there'll be
hard
stuff.
maybe, eh?
Yeah, I think there'll be. I think it'd be neat for them to bring stuff to the Gen Con. That sounds about right. Sounds Seems to be what they would do. I could see that happening. As far as them releasing individual tiles and stuff, I think the next thing we'll get is the terrain, and then maybe after that go from there. But I
I
think
just think like it'd be if you take a look at like a release like Skrell, right? Like, it'd be easy to include like a single tile with her release that has like plants or something on it, something that kind of ties in narratively with the miniature and is very like low effort inclusion. I don't know. Maybe they won't, but we'll see. I think that'd be like an interesting way to kind of start tying products in, and
yeah,
maybe people who don't have the Ultimate Showdown board can just piecemeal a showdown board together,
yeah.
like with the singular
352,
releases eventually.
352
352
white
white
boxes
boxes.
later. How many years would that be? 10? No.
Yeah.
52 weeks a
Yeah.
year.
I don't
No,
know.
12
There's been
months.
quite a few white boxes released this
Three,
year, so
30 years later. Because you get one white
hey,
box per
you
month.
gotta. One of the really kind of funny things that I noticed with this update is in the print proofs, they included there's a picture of Adam holding all the secret fighting arts for Gambler's Chest, and he has the God of Cheaters card face up, which
Yeah,
I thought was
fanned
kind of
out,
funny
yeah.
because there's no actual like it doesn't really matter that it gets spoiled because there's no like in-game way to even acquire that card without cheating. So I don't know. I thought that was really funny. Like that's a very cheeky thing to do in retrospect.
In retrospect, I
Um,
agree, yeah. Wouldn't have known at the time, but yep, that is a funny thing to do.
yeah. How do you integrate God of Cheaters? Have you unlocked it in any of your streams yet, or like are you gonna like take it like, or
I
are you fundamentally like against taking it? You know?
No, no, no. I don't. I'm not going to do it until after. I won't use it until I've actually completed my first all the way through Goddamn run. But then, yeah, there's probably fun things you could do with it.
Yeah, like would you like kind of auto include it, like post Gambler's Chest, like finishing
You
a thing,
you
or like I don't know, like how often you take it, because it kind of feels like you either don't take it or you have to take it almost all the time. Like I don't know, it's so tempting. It's just there,
Yeah,
you know.
I
You could
mean, you
just
could
grab
do.
it
It's
and
such a
throw it on
free
your character.
form
And
concept. You don't even have to be playing Gambler's Chest to take it. You don't even have to be using Gambler to take it. You
yeah,
could do it mid watcher
just take
fight
it.
just for the fun.
Yeah, just like I'm done with the. I'm
Yeah,
done with losing my crimson dress. I just
yeah.
need to take
In
this card for a little W.
in a perfect world, what I'd love to do is cheat to get it, and then die trying to vaultless it get it, because you still can roll a 1 on a secret fighting art. I think, right? No, you don't have to for secret fighting art. That's true.
I don't know. I think
No, secret fighting art, you just gain it.
if you're already cheating though to get the card, even regardless of that, if you're already cheating to get the card, like skipping vaultless is like, you know, just the next step to it.
Yeah, or
But
do it with a regular survivor, not a non-arc one.
mhm.
Do it with a regular survivor, cheat to get it, even though you already have 3 fighting arts, and just make it your 4th, and be like, what now?
Yeah, you're already just breaking the rules. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah.
So pretty much as far as the update goes, that was all that was talked about. There was nothing for comments that were left in the Kickstarter comments.
No, I
The
think
January, sorry, go ahead.
January is normally like a very slow month because
Hmm.
they take the holiday. It's the same with this year. They just come back the second week of January, third week of January, or yeah, second week of January, and it's only a 4 week month, so not too. You never can really expect too much from the January one.
Yeah.
But the January
Um,
release was interesting. Wasn't there a January release?
yeah, so we got our first 2023 beta miniature, which was Hellbore.
Mm-hmm.
She came with the new, like, not so much new anymore, but Cold Face Dagger beta gear card. Um, we also, as far as miniatures that had no content, we got the Barbarian Lucy photo resin as well as the painter's scale of her model, and then reprints of the generic Holy Mage and generic Temple Explorer miniatures. So there's like a little bit of stuff included in the January sale. It kind of might be a good barometer, I guess, of what we can expect for a sale this month if we are to get one. Probably just another beta mini and
Yeah,
um
this month could possibly be a big month. Who knows? This month's got a lot writing on it if you're talking about for the 2024 January, because it could possibly be Millennium Butcher. Might be.
that's true, yeah. Yeah,
Might
that's right.
might not be.
Um One of the things I am interested to see is the Kingdom Death newsletter was geared as like a lunar New Year's update, basically. So it showed like a Legomorph survivor
Oh, from the
for the
newsletter
year of the
itself. Yeah,
rabbit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so last year was the year of the rabbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year is the year of the dragon. So it would be also interesting to see. We might get some kind of dragon related miniature. I don't know, maybe like dragon sacrifice or dragon king related or something completely new. That's just advertising, I suppose, for
Yeah,
um,
I
Lunar New
think
Year's.
if we end up getting Millennium Butcher, maybe we'll probably see a dragon armored survivor in the newsletter.
Yeah,
Dragon
I
King armor.
mean that there is that one survivor in the Millennium Butcher
Yeah,
vignette that is wearing Dragon King
yeah.
related armor. So um, very much she could end up being that was what's her name?
I forget what her name was, but yeah, I forget what her name was. I think she had a nuclear dagger. I think it was.
Yeah,
But yeah,
probably.
so that'd be interesting. As far as the beta miniature goes and stuff like that, again, I don't know. It's I used to think maybe they'd have a quick turnaround on the beta miniatures, but we still haven't seen Grimmery, so who knows when the beta miniatures become hard plastic, actual white box releases. So I don't think we'll be speculating too much on if we'll see them again or not.
Yeah. So same thing happened with February. February was pretty lean. The update for February, Kickstarter update for February. This is update number 103. It's called Kiss. This is for Valentine's, and right off the bat, there's a piece of artwork that's shown that was just kind of like seemed like holiday fan flair kind of artwork, but in retrospect has a really interesting like kind of lore detail, I guess. So upon the release of Gambler's Chest, and this might be a little bit spoilers for people who haven't gotten very far in the game, but there is a strange resource later in the Gambler's Chest called the Master Key, and in this piece of artwork, it shows Aya and Allison giving a little smooch, and at the same time, Aya looks to be pulling this Master Key out of one of these Fish of Abundance's mouths, and the Master Key is pretty significant because it ties in with kind of Aya's story on getting a death crown and all this stuff. Like you use the Master Key to access the realm of the kings and stuff like that. So it kind of provides this narrative clue as to a part of Aya's story, like how did she get to that point? And when this would have come out, we didn't know about the Master Key, so it's just such an easily overlooked detail. And then when we were going back through this, I was like, looked at this artwork and I was like, wait a second. And so yeah, it's very cool to be able to go back and be like, they hid this detail in plain sight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that piece of artwork and kind of my ramble on that, the update did go to announce a return to Gen Con. I guess the January update actually did say that they'd go back to Gen Con, but formally they announced that they'd be returning to Gen Con in February, and they show off some of the sculpts for the Seer, who is one of the Red Witches and will be in the Red Witch expansion. And then there's some other stuff in this update related to Gambler's Chest.
Most importantly, is the showdown board of this update.
Yeah, yes, a little bit of Black Knight stuff. Nothing that's not covered in later updates.
Yeah. Well,
And
this
then-
one does confirm the Bullfrog Knight. I don't think they talk too much about Bullfrog Knight going forward. Or not Bullfrog Knight. The Bullfrog.
Yeah,
The Bullfrog Dog.
Bullfrog Dog. Yeah, that was the last big notable thing
Yeah,
is that the Bullfrog Dog. They showed this awesome piece of artwork for it, and Adam emphasized in the update that it'll play like a legendary monster and not as an additional quarry. So there's not going to be some secret miniature and frog dog for the Bullfrog Dog and stuff like that. Just kind of like just a special legendary monster.
Yep. I don't know if it would be true legendary monster with the mask and all that stuff, but that'd be neat. I think Campaigns of Death might start including some masks, but we can talk about that later. But again, most importantly from the February update, I think is the Plastic Showdown board, where they showed that numbers will be included on this massive 352-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of talk at the time. Because remember, we're trying to put ourselves in the time of these updates when they came out, and that was a huge thing of everyone wondering if it would be numbered and everything. So thankfully,
me and Bra were joking. It's like the showdown setup is quite a while already. So having to assemble a puzzle every time is definitely adds something to the showdown phase, I suppose. But
and this also
I am glad that they
shows you can put magnets, which I think I'll probably be trying to do the magnet route because that will save tons of time.
The February sale was obviously Valentine's oriented. We got 2 white boxes. So the Death Crown Inheritor Aya box set was released that had a new AI card for the Phoenix, a new Strange Resource, and 2 pattern cards. And this was important because it kind of showcased the Indomitable Resource system from Gambler's Chest.
No.
It did. It was kind of like a preview for it. Like they aren't indomitable resources, but
Yes,
it
that's
is
very
acting the
clear.
same
I
way.
want to make sure we make that very
Yeah.
clear. They're not
Yes, they are
indomitable.
not indomitable resources,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is meant to evoke that system and how you gain pattern cards from indomitable resources. But yes, no, it is not an indomitable
Yeah, it's a
resource.
much worse.
Uh,
Not worse. It's just a lot more
and
random. You have to get the trait in play, and then you have to kill it with the trait in play, and you need to get two of them because each pattern requires it. And then to even use the arrow, you need to have the bow. So it's an
yeah, so on
interesting white
reflection, I
box.
guess. On reflection, what do you think about like monster AI cards being added in content that's adjacent to the game? So we've got like this AI card in the
The,
Phoenix upgrade. Later on, we'll talk about one of December's releases came with a new AI card for Atlas.
I'm
Um,
fine with it. Death Crown Inheritor Aya. I've done videos on Death Crown Inheritor Aya. I've talked about my. I really like Death Crown Inheritor Aya, but I also really dislike Death Crown Inheritor Aya. Good thing about Death Crown Inheritor Aya, I think it sold less than they expected, maybe perhaps because it was I don't know if it was this it was right around this time that the comment was made where they're going to start to look to separate painting sculpts from white boxes, where they include it in the white box to make the $60 white box. And then going forward, we have seen that is now a thing. Most of the white boxes now that we've been seeing after this point have been just returns to the $30 white boxes. Like when they redid the Sun Urza and the new Lucy that we've seen. Skrell was like I think the next month after this, so it was really good. So I just wish Death Runner I didn't have the painter scale, but as to your question, I actually think it's fine if they stick to the format of being vignettes. I would rather see monster updates come in the form of a vignette than a white box. But it's fine.
that's fair.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It is. It's fine. I mean, it's fine.
But it is, there was a question on the Discord the other day, and someone said like, "Do I have to get Undying Heart again in order
Yeah,
to?"
you do.
That's the strange resource that's included in order to craft both the pattern cards. And it was like, yeah, and they're like, okay, well that's impossible,
Yeah,
and they just like completely resolved to that
yeah.
that
And
decision
there's
on
also no
and I mean it
choice.
is quite challenging. It's very very like throwy, right?
Yeah,
Like there's not that many Phoenix legendary AI cards, so technically it's like not super hard, but then you do have to fight a level 3 Phoenix in order
yeah.
to
And even
have the best chances of proccing that. So
again, I wasn't even.
it is yeah.
It's not even the fact that you need to get it twice. That's fine. It's the fact that there's also no thought to it because there's no choice there. I mean, like you can't get it and be like, oh, should I make the bow or the arrow? Then when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, the arrow requires the bow, so I guess I make the
Yeah, that's
bow.
right. Yeah, you're forced to
Yeah,
build the bow
it's fine.
first.
It's fine. Death Crown Inheritor Aya is fine. I have a whole video on Death Crown Inheritor Aya. We talked about it at length. It was the most fiddly and weird way of a white box being integrated ever, and that's mostly where my focus is. Again, I think the bow is great. I think the arrow was great. I think they're really cool. I think the trait was really cool, where it does a lot of cool stuff where it doesn't cancel reactions when it's knocked down. It was very cool stuff. It was just very mechanically weird.
I love the idea of like monsters getting additional cards in white boxes. Like I think that's a very interesting way to make people's games different. So the Lunar Twilight Night white box included a new hunt event card and a new rare gear card called Fish of Abundance. You get the rare gear card through the hunt event, obviously. I love this kind of content. Like I love this
Yeah.
small little additions. I think we need more basic hunt events. So those were the two content releases. We also got a couple releases that had no content included. So that was a photo resin of the Blushing Owl male armor, which will be included in some kind of ringtail expansion box at some point, I'm assuming, alongside the re-release of the Valentine's Day Pinup Twilight Night. This one actually does include a piece of content. That's the Scoopy Club. And then there was the Death High Intimacy couple was re-released in photo resin as well.
And this was before they were named Inti and Macy.
Oh yes, yeah, T and Massey, Macy, Massey.
Macy. So the March update. This is the update that showed Black Knight and Frog Dog more in depth than we'd seen it before. The Squire campaign was talked about for this. Now with the actual, with hindsight, we know originally these looked like bigger cards. With the L suspicion here, I thought these were like going to be knowledge size cards or whatever, but these turns out this is just a bridge size card. So this is a full art bridge card, which is neat. We'll see it later, but this is the first appearance of Devour the White Lion. Little did we know that Gambler's Chest would also have a Devour the White Lion event. And then later we would learn at Gen Con that Titan B also has a Devour the White Lion event. So Devour the White Lion seems to be the the way that you introduce the Note ones, which is interesting. The fun thing about the Devour the White Lion here, the concept of it makes me think that Frog Dog itself won't have a prologue included in its expansion. I think the prologue for Frog Dog will probably be in the mountain. And then this Devour the White Lion is how you will just use Frog Dog as your prologue. You'll do the regular prologue.
I actually disagree with that.
Oh, you think?
I think there is. Yeah, they're later on in an update. We'll get there later, but they do show artwork for a prologue of Frog Dog.
I know that they show the one where it eats the Ark survivors.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have some comments about that. We can go to it. We can talk about it when we get there.
I see. I assume there'd be two different things. One would be Devour the White Lion, the one would be just eating the Ark survivors.
I think it'll be very similar to how the Crimson Crocs is set up. Like, it'll have just a page that's Devour the White Lion, and then pretty much the same setup as Crimson Croc has. Like, the setup isn't different between the two fights, I guess, or two campaign type variants.
I do think.
Yeah, I'm not a. Go ahead.
I do think it's funny that all the Node ones are going to have Devour the White Lion.
Yeah, I'm hoping they change the name. I think the Gorm story is called Crush the White Lion.
Yes,
so
Flatten. I think it's Flatten.
I do hope that they. Yeah, that's right, Flatten. So I do hope that they change this from Devour the White Lion to something else, just so that the Crocs remains unique. So you can easily tell like which one you're talking about if you're discussing it online or whatever.
Stank the White Lion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Swallow the White Lion. I don't know, man. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of how they're turning the White Lion into a jobber, but just the way that the core game sets it up, I guess there isn't really much flexibility, I suppose, in how they introduce new monsters without doing like a completely new prologue.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm saying is I respect what it's doing, but I just wish that they didn't make the White Lion seem so like low on the food chain now, I guess.
I think it's funny, but I agree. It would be nice to have different names where it's not always Devour. But we do know Gorm is flat.
I think maybe like 2 or 3 times is funny, but we're getting to the 4th time, and who knows how many more times in the future. So we'll see. We'll see how long it is entertaining for, I suppose. Maybe it'll circle back and just be funny at the end. Just happens so many times. It's just funny.
Yeah, circle back, and then Campaigns of Death 2 is Devour the Croc.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing we had for this one was the Silver City thing. There's, again, it talks about Campaigns of Death, but we'll talk about that. It's not most mentions of Campaigns of Death. We're just going to push off to the Black Friday update. This Silver City was neat to see the octopus here. Still don't know exactly what they are. I think these are probably going to be the encounter monsters.
You say they're an encounter monster in a comment later on.
Oh, is it in the comments? I couldn't, because I don't remember if they were also listed as encounters at Gen Con when all this stuff was shown in the case. I remember that's where we get
they had their own.
Yeah, they had the spoopy bone eaters, where they were wearing cloths like ghosts.
I love this miniature though. Like this miniature is so sick.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
I love it. I want to see the other octopus sculpts too. I'm assuming there's going to be more than one, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, I just love the idea. So the picture for this update shows the octopus like creeping behind Vittenvox, who was one of
yep. That
the
was the
new
beta for this month.
beta minis. So yeah, just a beautiful model. I love it.
Yeah, we
It's probably one of my top models from this year. I've got a few, but we'll get to those.
yeah, and we don't know what the ones in the background are. We talked about it. Don't know what they
Yeah, it's
are.
pretty blurry. So
I
in
th-
this photo,
I think
which Bra will post in the video,
yes.
obviously there's a model in the background that's quite blurry that you can't really identify.
No, it looks like you're the one on the farthest right. The one here looks like
Farthest right.
it's
The one on the
the
yeah, go ahead.
the one center is King costume, right? You agree?
The one on the far left is a painter scale of Seer. I just can tell that now because she's coming
Yes.
down the stairs, those beautifully
Yep.
sculpted stairs.
That's painter
She's got the bird on her
skills here.
hand.
Uh, the one next to it, we don't know what that is. The one dead center, I think, is King costume. And then
Oh yeah, I agree actually.
in the far right, I thought originally was L, but now we know it's not. Uh, it just looks like maybe another Squire or like a Black Knight armor set, but I don't know. Originally, I
Maybe
thought it was
blushing
L.
owl armor or something.
Yeah, originally I thought it was L because L was shown in this, and she looks like that. Like her gear from her card. If you scroll to her card, it looked like her. But we now that we've seen her in the later updates, we know it's not.
Yeah. Um, and then like the previous couple updates, there wasn't really anything revelatory mentioned in the comments for the update. So the March sale, we got a new white box. So we're on our third white box of the year now. That was for Skrell, which if you watched the video where Bra and Jay and I speak about white boxes, we both consider this one like a pretty
Yeah.
high purchasability index white box.
I think Skrull's one of the better ones
So
we've seen.
yeah, and she included a new settlement event and a new double-sided innovation card, which are definitely more welcome into the game. The
Yep.
settlement events, especially. This also included a new beta release, Vittenvox, which you mentioned already. She came with two gear cards, Banshee Bedla and Banshee Loincloth. And those were just her lore is pretty cool because it mentions a new monster. Seems like she's from an area of the Plane of Stone Faces that we've never seen before. We also got the release of the Stone Wrecker mini with the Bone Eating Octopus. This is definitely one of like the best miniatures that's been released last year, recent history. I think it's an amazing miniature. I think Team Death agrees. It's showcased on their front page of their website now. We didn't know it at the time of the release, but this was actually artwork from Gambler's Chest. So there's the Stone Wrecker knowledge card, and this character's pulled right off of that card. So I'm personally looking forward to seeing more minis that are designed after a lot of the artwork in Gambler's Chest, because there's some really good character artwork in Gambler's Chest. So I'm looking forward to that.
Next, we go to technically the April one. But I remember specifically for me from this one when Dreamism, because it shows the philosophy, and I remember reading it. And this was before we knew that there was a core philosophy. We didn't know that those were things. We didn't know how the philosophy thing worked. But I remember reading this first page when this came out, and I was like, man, this philosophy is so oddly specific to the gambler. I don't see how this could work in any other campaign. And then later, yeah, it was the core philosophy, and that's why it's so oddly specific.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
yeah, I do remember that because I remember I posted and Landers Rain I was talking about it. I was like, man, philosophies don't seem are variable. I was like, they seem very specific. I don't see how you could use this without using Gambler. But luckily, that was only this one philosophy.
The update to me was
Yeah, there's nothing to talk
like
about
a
from the update.
nothing burger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, The May sale. I don't remember when the May sale went up, but I'm assuming it went off at the same exact time the update came out. So it probably was. This was the Easter sale, even though it was in May. So we got the Lagomorph release, as well as the Lolowin white box. Yeah, she included a painter scale too. But she
That's
had
right, yeah.
the first time we'd seen a character card. She was on the shop listing. It was the first time something was ever listed, whereas requires the gambler's chest, which is an interesting thing. I've talked about this recently because of how things are going when we after the Black Friday and stuff. But the character card innovation, now that we've actually seen it with gambler's chest, it's an interesting thing to not make or to make restricted to the gambler's chest. Hopefully, the character card innovation itself makes its way to a card pack or something. That'd be great. But Lola Win herself, she had the first time we also found the exact rules for Surpass. Is that correct? I think her
Uh,
club had Surpass on it, but it also had Rush, which is such a cool thing, which I'm surprised we didn't see in the Gambler's Chest, but Rush was cool. Rush was the, if you hit 3 times, then you're considered rushing. I could have sworn her
yeah, I think
club
that's
had.
kind of one of those maneuvers that we're going to start seeing more often.
I hope
Rush
so.
wasn't even really, I guess it was defined as a glossary term, but it wasn't bolded on the card, I don't believe. But
No, it wasn't. I don't think it. It's just said when you're rushing.
yeah, but yeah, you're right about Surpass as well. That was when it was first defined.
So that is
So
neat.
yeah, I guess we can look forward to additional Rush kind of related rules going forward, or
I
maybe
hope
some
so.
stuff
Rush
in.
was really cool. I'm all for it. Something that
Yeah.
encourages more speed.
So the June update, this was update 106. The intro gives us a small Gambler's Chest spoiler where Poots says that they've been begging dice like crazy, which I thought was a little bit funny. It also gave us a quick update on how far along each expansion is, based on the state of expansions that we were kind of given in Black Friday of this year. It's safe to say that most of the content that was sub 50% complete as per this update have just had like kind of lore development or 3D modeling or very rough draft rules developed for them, and that anything kind of over 50% was in a more finished state, I suppose. But really, we'll be able to kind of compare between this update, Black Friday's update, and then the eventual February update from this year to see how these different expansions have developed. Um, so, for example, like they stated that Black Knight and Frog Dog were 99 and 98% complete respectively. So this was in June of 2023, and then now we're going to be finally receiving Black Knight and Frog Dog in 2024. So kind of gives you an idea of uh, how how long 2%
Yeah.
takes to develop for the game. But then in comparison, you've got like the Griffin at 30%, Honeycomb Weaver at 40%, Abyssal Woods at 20%. So, yeah, I mean, we never really know like what's going on in the background, but we will kind of have these updates to look at as like a metric for expansion progression, I suppose. So I am looking forward to seeing that. So we also in this update was when Adam decided to honor the Possessed Twilight Knight collaboration that uh, was presented from Relic Knights for Relic Knights, and that game does not exist anymore. I guess it exists, but it's not being produced anymore. So the Possessed Twilight Knight was kind of promised as a Kickstarter release through Relic Knights, and then those backers never got it. So this set comes with both the Relic Knights gameplay cards and an Alt Art Survivor's Lantern Gear card. It doesn't have any rules on it; it's just like artwork for it. So it's just like a nice little bonus for Kingdom Death players. Um, this I did was reflecting on this whole kind of situation, and one of the characters from Relic Knights is Candy and Cola, or from that company. What is that? Soda Pop.
Yeah, Ninja Division
Yeah.
or Team
So
Ninja. I forget.
with that,
They've
like,
gone like 3 names, 4 names deep now.
yeah. So nameception. So at right now, like, there's backers for those Soda Pop Ninja Division projects that haven't received content. So it makes me wonder like how backers of that stuff feel when they see like the Candy and Cola Wanderer like moving forward, right? Like essentially like Adam Poots Games has had to like pick up the slack for the development of kind of third party content. So I imagine it feels like a little bit bittersweet for those people who've had their money kind of disappear. There was also a question that I thought was interesting about tooling, and somebody had said, "Oh, which monsters haven't been tooled yet?" And he's like, um, or which monsters have been tooled? And he said it's easier to mention like which monsters haven't been tooled. And this only stood out because one of them that he mentioned was hissing cockroaches, which as they're a vermin card in the core game. So for him to say like, we haven't tooled the hissing cockroaches as a monster implies that there's some kind of cockroach, maybe minion, or some kind of cockroach encounter monster that's in the works. Um, so yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Something I missed the first time I read that update, and makes me wonder. He mentioned more recently that they wanted to do like some kind of uh, um, camel spider crab spider encounter monster. So very, very realistically, these cockroach monsters could be retooled to be some kind of other um, non-hissing cockroach style like monster, I suppose.
Yeah, we did
And
just get
lastly,
the blind rocker.
sorry, go ahead.
We just got the blind rocker, so we do know what a hissing cockroach looks like now when it's tool, or well, when it's sculpted, because that's also a
Uh,
beta. But
well, no, I disagree with that
isn't it a
like a
hissing
lot
cockroach?
because no, definitely not. It's like some kind of cricket kind of
Oh, is it?
insect. Yeah, that's what it really reminds me of. But I did think about that. Like, what if the blind rocker, like the miniature in the Death Mist, was like repurposed um, from this concept,
Yeah,
which is also possible. But I
yeah.
hope not. I do want to see more encounter monsters or
Yep.
more
Could have also
like even
meant.
having like random minion monsters added to showdowns, like through like a hunt event or something like that would be uh, like a cool concept to explore.
Yeah, could also have meant like the water bugs, but you never know. I don't think
Yeah.
it would have said that, but you never know. Typing.
And my last note from this update was that it was the first mention of Kingdom Death Second Edition.
Yep.
Someone was asking about like, oh, when is stuff going to get updated, and he just said, Kingdom Death Second Edition. So we'll talk about that more later. But yeah, just this was the first time it was mentioned was in June. So
Yep. Then June we had some beta release and one white box, or did not have a white box.
we did not get a white box in June.
So it was just Mist for the beta release, which Mist now is apparently becoming more popular. Didn't she just get a death high too?
Did she get a what? Sorry.
A death high. Didn't Mist get a death high?
No, Moss got a Death
Oh,
Eye. I
Moss
don't
got
know.
it.
Maybe Miss did. I don't know. I don't pay super close attention to the Death Eye minis, so um, what is there, what is not there. But yeah, Mist's beta release included two gear cards, which is the Petrichor Stetch Helm and the Petrichor Gauntlets. I did not know that a Stetch Helm was called a Stetch Helm when this came out, so that was a new word for me. And it was also released in an armorless variant of Mist, so she had two minis released. The armorless variant did not include the beta cards, though.
Yeah, this was
Uh,
also a very interesting thing because no one knew what Current did when it was released, and they didn't want to tell us.
yeah, luckily it wasn't too long of a wait between
Yeah.
Current. So Current was, or Current is a like a monster AI card special rule that was introduced in the Gambler's Chest. So this was very much like a teaser of some Gambler's Chest content. But yeah, so luckily we didn't have to wait very long to find out what that was. It's not like Sideswipe.
So now we move into July. July was the official thing that it's being shipped for Gambler's Chest. It's pretty much all this was, right?
Yeah,
No,
no other comments or anything like that in the Kickstarter. Um, yeah,
the
we
July sale. Gunborg's interesting.
Globen Snarfer works in that while you have 10 plus bleeding tokens, this weapon gains Devastating 1. It's also Sentient Curse and has Blood Eater, which was a new special rule introduced. Blood Eater works that if you are adjacent to another survivor, you may spend an action to kill them, transfer their bleeding tokens to you, and it takes an additional 5 bleeding tokens to kill you this showdown. So you basically stack a ton of bleeding tokens. It works really well with Crimson Croc gear. It works really well with White Speaker related content. It is one of those kind of interesting new gameplay elements where we're getting the opportunity to kill other survivors. One of the things I did find funny about this was in the June update, one of the questions I was asked is about like parasitic weapons. And Poots was like, that's an interesting idea. And then literally in the July sale, Globen Snarfer was introduced and is said in the lore to be like a parasitic weapon. So it's like a good moment of synchronicity, I think, for him. Or maybe they had Gunborg on the back burner and he was just like, that's funny. Like, let's just release Gunborg as like a nod to that. We also did get a painter's release of painter scale release of Gunborg, and then a regular player scale and a painter scale mini of Summer Lucy. Summer Lucy didn't include any content, and we got a archival remaster for the Forsaker, which is IMO alongside the Bone Eating Jellyfish and Stone Wrecker. One of the best miniatures that we saw all year. I the Forsaker archival remaster, excellent miniature, like such good detail on it. I kind of wish I had bought one. I did not buy one, but yeah, it looks like a great mini.
This was also the birthday Aya, which was a great
Yeah,
timing for this to be released because a lot of people brought it with them to Gen Con. So this was perfect timing for that.
that's right. Yeah, so birthday Aya included some beta content for a new trait card and kind of a cool, strange resource called Blank's Gift. And you could write like your name or somebody else's name on this gift, and came with stickers that had like adjustable abilities. You could kind of come up with your own gift card. It could be like detrimental or beneficial to the player you gave it to. It's just a lot of fun. And Team Death at the time, like you can tell them it's your birthday and they'll make a birthday card for you. And Taste was doing that on the Discord a lot, I think. One of the things that upon re-looking at this, like I've been paying attention to this update art more often since the Aya Allison Master Key artwork from the February update. So this artwork shows it's Gunborg presenting a framed kind of painting of a Forsaker approaching a castle to birthday Aya. And on its own, I think it's kind of innocent, but I am kind of curious why they chose this setting specifically. Like, I think this Forsaker approaching a castle with a Dragon King head endowed on it is like more important than we understand at the moment. I don't know, like off the top of my head, there's no lore that references this specific situation that I can think of, but I do wonder if it'll crop up in the future in the same way that the Master Key was kind of like retrospectively important, right?
Yeah, it's possible. Could link to Black Knight as mentioned by you, so that's possible. It's just really hard to tell because it's such an odd situation. Like this thing needs to cover so much. It needs to have Aya wearing a birthday hat. It needs to have Summer Goth included. They need to be inside a hot spring. There needs to be a Forsaker. There needs to be Gunborg. There needs to be a gift for Aya since it's her birthday. It's just so much stuff that needs to be included that who knows what's going on.
Yeah. It's just like the Dragon King part of it stands out because there was nothing Dragon King related released in this
Yeah.
update. So it just I don't know, it just could just be a
No, yeah.
design
No, I
thing or
agree.
like just for
Once
fun,
with the
but yeah,
Master Key, it's good. It's good to point out because the Master Key thing, no one would have
yeah,
known until you had further information. In hindsight, you'd only
yeah.
notice that in hindsight.
It's just such a subtle thing, and I'm just like, it'll show up eventually, maybe some philosophy, forsakerism or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, yeah, and that was pretty much the July update. So we're gonna get into one of the meteor updates now, which was Gen Con for August.
Yes, this is the August
Uh,
one.
this was update 108. I'll let you take that one away.
This this one is quite the update. For me, this was an interesting update, but like again, this is mostly just talking about fulfillment. A lot of this stuff is just fulfillment. A lot of the stuff is all the things for the Gambler's Chest. A lot of it's going to be that they were taking pre-orders for Gambler's Chest at Gen Con. I think they were actually no, they didn't sell any copies there, but they had the pre-orders for them for people to buy and get them. This was the first time they showed sleeves. The interesting thing about this was the all the things they showed from Gen Con and then the bust. It's a good update because they mentioned for people not to be buying the bust third party, which is I think is very good on them to mention stuff like that. Because when that Butcher bust was sold at Gen Con, a lot of people really got hit with the FOMO and were buying it. So I'm glad they included to make sure to highlight it and mention for people not to be doing that.
Yeah, they did a similar thing with the Undying Lantern card too during this update, I believe, and they just said like,
Yes.
"Hey, don't buy it." There's like a copy on eBay for like over $100, and they're like, "Don't buy that. We'll give them to you for free with the Gen Con sale orders."
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a very positive thing to see them try to like squash that FOMO, like I need to get this. It's Gen
Yes.
Con exclusive kind of feelings that you get with this with kind of convention
Yeah. I think
stuff,
I think they even made it made it to the store right away, right? I think it was on when this update went live. I think the bus was already on the shop.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very good on them to mention it. And then there's just a bunch of stuff here from Gen Con, which I mean, yeah, all kinds of stuff happened at Gen Con. They're just recapping it and talking about it and everything. But I was at Gen Con, so it's great to see all these things that I had missed, even though I was there. Gen Con was fun. There's lots of cool stuff happen. I'm glad that a lot of the community members, a lot of Kingdom Death stuff even won for Best in Show. And I remember talking about that with Adam when I was there, talking about it. I don't remember if it made the interview. There's lots of stuff that we talked about before even starting recording, but I think that also made the interview when I was talking about it, that the Kingdom Death transcends its own market. Like people do buy
Yeah,
the
100%.
minis just to do this, and so it's great to see like Mumford and PhD here winning Best in Show.
Yeah, like I feel like you see Kingdom Death mentioned a lot in articles. Like I was watching this YouTube video the other day and I was like, the best miniature games with the best models or something like that, right? And it's like Kingdom Death was mentioned as like the legendary Kingdom Death, and it makes me wonder, I guess, like if Kingdom Death is considered this really like kind of outsider game by like the regular board gaming community. Like it's pretty niche, right? And yeah, to see like just people who are into painting or just into miniatures buying Kingdom Death stuff just to paint, like not really, I don't know, maybe not getting super involved with the game. It is cool that it, like you said, it transcends the game itself in that way, right?
Yeah. So it's great that all this stuff was there. One thing one thing that I always think about that I wish I would have mentioned to Poots when I was there, because I interviewed Poots after playing First Hero. I think I put my interview video out because everybody wanted that more when I got home, so I think I made sure to edit that first. But I had actually played First Hero before I had interviewed him. I can't remember the order in which I released my videos, but I wish I would have mentioned had I known. But see, I didn't know that Mumford and PhD were winning these things, winning best in show and stuff. But so it was great. I wish I would have mentioned in my thing that the people who were playing with me in the first hero are Mumford and PhD. I mentioned it in my video, but it's like another tie. I don't know. I'm sure Protes knows because they were always there. I mean, I was always at the booth too. So it just this update's just like really cool knowing that you were there and stuff. But
Yeah,
you can
Monk
talk about it
40.
because again, I saw most of this stuff. It's cool.
You were
though.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
There was lots of nice stories from Poots about fan interactions, all the cosplay and stuff like that. There was one that I especially enjoyed, which was the engagement story, and Poots mentions that they want to do a white box with that content or some version of that content at some point. So that that kind of community engagement, I think, is really positive for the game, and I don't know. It helps humanize like APG as, like kind of like indie developers versus, your, I don't know, your wizards or whatever you want to say out in the world. They showed off some Crimson Croc demo survivors. I guess you handled these in real life, eh?
I mean, I played it, but it's not like I was like, I got. Let me look at all these things and interrupt all the other demos. I did get to play with one. I forget who I got to play with. I think I got to play with Talisman. Yeah, I think I played with this one. But again, yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
I interrupted all the other demos. Like I need to see.
Yeah. Well, I love them. I think I get FOMO that those exist. I want to see them released as a plastic kit, like
Yeah,
preferably with content.
I
So
wouldn't doubt it. Now
um,
that we have seen what has become of the barbarian miniatures, these might make it. So
that's true. Yeah. Obviously, your interview with Poots happened about lore. Um, so one of the things that I liked about that is like Bra and I spent a lot of time discussing like what should we ask prior to him going. So it was nice to see Poots admit that the questions get to the heart of Kingdom Death lore because it kind of reinforces my thoughts or my vision of what's going on in Kingdom Death. Um, I wish we got more like answers to the questions versus him just going like, "Oh, these are great questions," and then not answering it or laughing cheekily. But in good time, maybe things will be revealed. Yeah. So the end of the update, we also got a tease of the Plastic Showdown board, as well as some artwork.
in its true
So
form,
this is the new Plastic
this is
Showdown
the true
board,
form.
re-engineered. Um, it looks good. I actually think the details look a little bit more crisp on this version than the
The
old one. Going back to it, but
the grid is so much better. Uh, here,
yeah,
the thing that holds it together is so much better in this one.
yeah. And it's not 3D printed, so I guess some of those details could be a little bit sharper, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and I remember the original one. It just looked so flimsy. So I'm glad that it got retooled to be much better. Because you can see here in the picture, holding the 8x8 here with one hand, and it's not like being weighed down by all the fact that because these, if you, you can see here that these are not near his hand. The tiles. Sure,
yeah,
he's not
yeah.
holding a full thing with one hand. I would never suggest there. I would never, even if they claim that they could do that, I would never suggest doing that.
Meanwhile, his hand's shaking, and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
take the picture,"
yeah, yeah,
like trying
yeah.
to hold it up.
Nah, this looks very strong. I'm glad that this picture's a good picture to show. Right. Sometimes with pictures for Kingdom Death, they're like blurred or they're not meant to show like this kind of stuff, right? Like rigidity of things. And this is a
Yeah,
great picture to show that. So I'm glad we got this picture. This is the showdown board is always one thing that you never know. It's like it's such a new type of thing for Kingdom Death, right? Like when you buy a monster, you know what you're going to get. You've played the game, you're pretty safe bet of what you're going to get from a white box and stuff like this. But you never know. They've never done terrain, so like besides for Lonely Tree, but so
yeah.
it's good. I'm glad that they took a picture like this to show that this needs to be stable. But then yeah,
The Gen Con releases were Echoes of Death 4 with new strains. This is a little bit weird though because it's sold out so quickly. There's like I don't know, 50 or something in stock when
Yeah,
it was released. So,
it was
like, I
probably
remember
the
I went onto the shop like pretty soon after we got the ping for that, and it was sold out. So
yeah,
it
it was
was like the
probably
release, but like not really the release.
well, it's because it was released at Gen
Um,
Con, so it was
yeah,
probably the leftover
these were just
stock from
like it was
Gen.
like
Yeah,
yeah, it was leftover stock from Gen Con. And then Longclaw Lenore, which had the White Lion Indomitable Resource, as well as
it's the
the
first
pattern
time.
card and corresponding pattern gear card. That
So
was the first
yep,
Indomitable release
yep. We've now since had
outside of
another one,
Gambler's
but
Chest. Yeah. And then this is also the plastic release of Loon. So Loon was previously released as a photo resin miniature, but she included a character card. And if you've watched Bra and I's white box review video with Jay, uh, it was also another.
yep.
That was one of our lowest purchasability index white boxes. It had a low PI.
This had Sen though.
So
This was also
yeah,
Sen.
and we got the beta release of Sen. Yeah, she
I think
has the
all of us
first.
agreed Sen was like the most interesting new beta this year. I know I thought she was. Even
Yeah,
over
well, like a new weapon type is like kind of a big deal. Like we haven't really
yeah.
like
And it seems to be legit because in Black Friday update when we get to it, there's a fan in there. So
yeah in campaigns of death. So
yeah, yeah.
this update also kind of
I,
showcased something interesting about the newsletters for me, because in the newsletter it has artwork for Sen, or the miniature for Sen, and it says Sen, Slayer of the Redbeard, which might be the name of monsters. Like in her lore blurb, it just kind of talks about these monsters. It doesn't name them, but I'm thinking maybe it is like so. It gives me this thought that there's sometimes some little lore pieces that are like released or shown off in these email updates, the newsletters, that maybe we don't immediately recognize.
yeah. I know. You know the
So
other
yeah,
thing.
it's something to keep an eye on. Going back to actual Gen Con though a little bit, like one of the things that I watched, I didn't actually watch very much of this when Bra originally released it, but it was his first hero demo. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest, if you're interested in the content at least, go watch that. I took some notes of some takeaways I have from that. Maybe it's a little weird for you to hear people take notes on your own videos, but I thought it was kind of funny, a little bit frustrating how they always blur out, like, or at least on the gear grids for the first hero survivors, they
Oh
blurred
yeah,
out the gear
yeah,
effects.
yeah,
So you're kind of like, you're really playing with these like super neutered survivors, right? Because you don't even have access to their full like
yeah.
gear abilities and stuff.
You're not meant to win.
No, you're not meant to win, especially when you start the showdown and your host was like, "You have 6 bleeding tokens and
Mm-hmm.
0 survival. Like, get ready to go." And you're like, "Well, my character's already dead." And he's like, "Well, that's just how Kingdom Death is, you know." Like,
Yeah,
they are definitely like meant to just be fast, like
yeah.
get it over with, kind of thing. Just showcase the game. Specifically, some of the gear cards that were shown, there was a piece of gear called the Ogre Tateage. I thought that had an interesting effect. At the end of your act, you lose 1 survival, and if the affinities are complete, it was a left red, up red, down red. You gain +1 strength token when you lose survival. Are there any interesting combos that you can think that come out of that gear card?
No, but the
Like,
Survivor I was playing had an interesting combo. I don't remember what it was, but I tried doing it when I was playing it, and reaction just boned my thing. But I can't remember what it.
on that gear grid, there was a gear called the Bone Yari. It was like a spear
Yeah,
to activate Surpass 5. You had to gain +1 strength, so you'd like sack your survival basically.
hmm
Um,
yeah. I think that was the grid I was using. I think I spent my survival to try to activate it, and then I got knocked down, and I couldn't get encouraged again.
uh, it makes me wonder, Lo, like, would you say spending and losing survival are the same thing in this
No,
case? Like, if you
they're not.
spend
They're
a
definitely
survival,
not.
they didn't let you do that. That kind of that interaction, that gear interaction, is pretty unique in that you need to lose survival in a certain way.
Hmm
So it'll be valuable. Like, I don't know if those cards are ever going to become actual like singular cards that you can make or whatever when first hero comes out, but
It will be
it'll need some
interesting
synergy.
because we'll
Yeah.
talk about it
I
because we will see in the Black Friday update with the Black Knight, the gear grids that you use for the Squire campaign might not be actually, some of them might not, there will be gear represented, but you're not meant to actually build them, right? Like you have an actual vignette
yeah.
card, so they're not expecting you to rebuild it with the gear yourself. So that could be the same
Yeah,
with
you
first
might have
hero.
have that locked to just the squires, for
Yeah.
example, right? Or
Yep.
these might be locked to just the first hero survivors, and you'll never get those cards. Which is I don't know if I'm a fan of that idea.
No, I
Like I
think
don't
you'll get
know.
it because you win the showdown and you take over the settlement and you'll have these cards to depart with. But like the
Yeah.
abilities, these survivors might have abilities that you might be locked to the vignette, and if they don't survive the thing, then you won't have those abilities because the survivor will be dead.
Yeah, they
So
might have like a vignette
yeah,
survivor style card, like what we saw in
yep,
White Lion or White Eagle Lion. Sorry.
yep, and we see them again in Black
So yeah,
Knight. So
some of the other gear that we saw was rope sickle, which gives you. It's obviously it's a sickle and a rope, or and a whip, so it gives you some um, access to hunt event bonuses that require whips and or sickles.
yep,
So that's a pretty good combo. I think that engages with some stuff that maybe doesn't get engaged with all that often.
yep,
I like that you could combo polishing lantern. This has the finesse keyword, so it can become a reach 2 strength 11 attack. So yeah, I thought that was cool. So the brine shard is deadly frail. It says if you critically wound with this, reveal the top 3 cards of the AI deck and choose one to place into the wound stack instead of wounding normally, and then discard the rest of the revealed cards. And then Pearlescent Veil says during your act, you may spend 1 survival to reveal the top card of the hit location deck. If the revealed hit location has a critical wound effect, gain +1 luck token until the end of the round, limit once per round. So they don't really synergize actually. I think they just kind of complement each other. They both give like revealing potential. Brine Shard will be interesting to see how it interacts with repeat cards going forward because repeat cards from Gambler's Chest can't be interacted with, I guess, once they're in play. So
yeah, that's been
you won't be able to use
confirmed.
Brine Shards.
Yeah, repeat cards are so interesting. They're so cool. I love repeat. Now remember the
Yeah,
other
they're
thing.
great.
The other thing that was so interesting is I didn't have my Gambler's Chest at this point. So I know I underplayed Surpass because I didn't have my thing, even though I know about Lolawin and stuff. But
Yeah, there was with the character that has the rope sickle, they also had a gear card called Lantern Dire Spikes. It was like leg armor. And it stood out to me because it was like 6 armor for the legs, where the rest of their gear set was only 3 armor. Has the ability you may spend movement to kick, move 1 space, and attack with fist and tooth with sharp, limit once per round. Um, so
oh yeah, they had
an
Monster Claw
interesting
style. I remember that.
That's right, yeah. So it's like an interesting way to kind of like build a fist and tooth master like indirectly, right? Like if you like the rope sickle, like there if you didn't want to go for whip specialty, I guess, like you want to use sickle, but like also have fist and tooth as your like mastery type, like that'd be Lantern Dire Spikes might be good for that kind of build. But it did stand out that its armor value was like different than the rest of the armor sets. That's kind of unique as far as like non-hybrid sets go, right?
Yeah.
So the third character had a gear card called Laminar Paulines. Um, these have a strange ability. Essentially, you get 2 movement, but you get a segmented movement ability. So it gives you the option to move twice, a total of 4 spaces. The reason behind this, the ability itself says -3 movement at the beginning of your act. If standing, gain an additional movement. So you'd be able to move 2 spaces, and then you'd get to spend your additional movement to move another 2 spaces. You kind of have this, you have a reduced amount of movement, but like more flexibility, I guess, in how or when you move. And then their gear card was cumbersome. They have a Obsidian Falchion gear card, and then their other weapon, the Iron Wreath Shield, was also cumbersome. So you'd need to be spending one of these movement tokens to activate one of those, or activate either of those if you surged. Um, it's at first glance, I don't really like this playstyle, but it definitely is.
Yeah, it's new.
It's got a lot of like mechanical finesse to it. I guess is
Yeah,
what I'm
it's like
trying to
that.
say.
What was that other one? I always remember there was an awesome. Oh, cleave. The cleave keyword was super cool. It has a lot of mechanical because you can have high speed weapons with cleave, and then it gives the weapon slow. I love cleave.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I guess these kind of like modular like characters or modular builds does some interesting stuff. It definitely this like kind of ability would make like cumbersome gear more attractive to some players too, right? So it's still one of the kind of most anticipated expansions, I think.
Oh yeah, for me too because it's just time skipping. I mean, it's a bonus that you get to do a vignette and actually do a fight and all that stuff. But I just even the concept of time skipping to me is awesome. So
Yeah, it'll help save time for
yeah,
people who want to just
and
experience some
repeat
of like the later
companion
game
or
content
campaigns
or
because there's so much. You know, after we because we'll talk about it in the Black Friday episode or the Black Friday update, but which we're gonna do is this is gonna be part two. We're cutting here, so that there is it will be the
yeah.
next episode. But um,
Imagine, imagine completing first hero and then the first settlement phase, you get clinging mist.
yeah, but the whole the amount of like new different campaigns that I want to try just from campaigns of death alone. I had like 6 different ones.
Hmm.
Just the fact that you can power back with first hero, right? Because Gambler's Chest, the reason why Gambler's Chest is taking me so much time is because if you get wiped like Lantern Year 17, I gotta work all the way back.
Yeah, set up your philosophies and everything all over
Yeah,
again.
yeah. So
Um, it will be
skipping would be
interesting to
great.
see if First Hero has any kind of consideration for Arc survivors, right? Like,
I'm
is
sure
there
it
any
has
kind
to
of
at this point, right? It has to.
like building the philosophy deck at a certain stage of development? I don't know. We'll see. It might just kind of leave you leave you behind in that case. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Well,
Um,
we're gonna have to call it here because the next
yeah.
updates are big updates. So,
Well, there's a couple things I want to talk about with Gen Con still. Like
oh
uh there was like the actual glass cases that they had on display. Just wanted to say like the how those are displayed, love it. Like so satisfying.
oh
Like
yeah,
the miniatures with like artwork from story events from the book and stuff like that. It's just like such like a I know we joke about this all the time, but it's such a boutique way to display the product. I don't know. It's very satisfying.
yeah.
One of the things I thought was interesting is they had the Abyssal Woods expansion miniatures on display, like what they have developed so far, which included the Goblin Guard, which has been a previous like limited release. And I don't
Yeah,
think that was
it was
part of the edition, the
I think it was in the
initial
pitch.
Abyssal Woods pitch.
I think it was.
Well, you have to fact check me on that,
Yeah,
but I am curious
I think it
if it
was.
isn't in the pitch, if it isn't in the pitch, I'm wondering if that mini is getting co-opted as
Yeah, that's
to
good. Yeah,
represent the Sparrow King's humanoid form because
yeah,
that was in the pitch.
yeah.
Um, so that was surprising. I don't remember seeing that before. So if it's wrong, then I guess I just need to pay attention a little bit more. We also saw new minis. These are the Bone Ghosts or the Bone Eaters. They're
Yeah.
now like their own Silver City Bone Eaters.
Spoopy
And
bone eaters. So
Yeah,
scary.
Bra was saying they're spoopy earlier. So yeah, I am interested to see if these will play any differently, or
I
is it
hope.
just a way to like introduce the Bone Eaters into another
I hope not.
expansion so that
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I hope they are. I hope they're not a completely different thing. I hope they're maybe like have a variant couple cards, like Giga Lions. Just a variant.
yeah, I don't know. I would rather than be like their own thing, particularly like for myself, but it would be a good way to get Bone Eaters in people's hands who don't have Gambler's Chest, for example, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they develop that.
Yep. I th-
Um, and yeah, so that was pretty much all that was new from Gen Con sale, or maybe not even new, but stuff that I thought was stood out.
yep. So We'll do the rest of the October, November, and the last in December. But the main bulk being the Black Friday update. So we will continue in part 2.